The night was cold, the river below roared like an endless monster, and the bridge stood in silence, an eerie witness to the fragile moment unfolding. A young girl, no older than 20, clutched the railing with trembling fingers, her hair blowing wildly in the winter wind. Her eyes were full of tears, her face pale, and her lips whispered words no one could hear. She was ready to let go, ready to let the darkness take her. Just a few steps away, a man stood frozen, his chest tightening as he realized what she was about to do. He had been walking home with a bag of half-priced groceries, thinking about how to stretch them to feed his little boy for another week, when fate pulled him into this moment. With a voice that carried both desperation and compassion, he called out, "Don't jump." Those two words, simple but filled with raw humanity, cut through the icy night like a lifeline. He didn't know her name, didn't know her story, but he knew pain, and he couldn't watch another soul disappear. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Royal Stories, and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Your support helps keep these powerful stories alive. His name was Daniel, a man in his early 30s, and life had not been gentle with him. Once a promising mechanic, he had lost his wife to illness years ago, leaving him alone to raise their son, Ethan. Every day was a battle. Working long shifts at a repair shop that barely paid the bills, worrying about rent, and hiding his own hunger so his little boy could eat. Yet despite the hardships, Daniel carried a quiet dignity, the kind that comes from loving someone more than yourself. Tonight, after another exhausting day, he had decided to take a longer route home to clear his mind. He never imagined it would lead him here, standing on a bridge with a stranger whose life hung in the balance. The girl looked back at him with hollow eyes, as if the world had drained her of all hope. Her coat was elegant but soaked in the mist, her shoes too fine for the cold pavement. She wasn't like the people Daniel usually met in his part of town, she looked like she belonged to a world far above his struggles. But despair makes everyone equal, and in that moment, she was just another lost soul. Daniel set his groceries down, slowly stepping closer, speaking softly, telling her that he understood pain, that he too had nights when giving up seemed easier than going on. His words weren't perfect, but they were honest, and sometimes honesty is stronger than poetry. As he drew near, the girl's hands began to slip, not from choice but from the cold. Daniel lunged forward, gripping her arm just as her foot left the edge. With all his strength, he pulled her back, both of them collapsing onto the pavement in tears and gasping breaths. She sobbed uncontrollably, clinging to him as if he was the only anchor in a storm. Daniel didn't ask questions right away. He just held her, letting her know she wasn't alone. That night, on a deserted bridge, two broken hearts collided in a way that neither could have predicted. Her name, as he later learned, was Isabella. She was the daughter of a wealthy businessman who owned half the city, a girl raised in luxury but caged in loneliness. Behind the grand mansions and expensive clothes was a world of pressure, expectations, and constant comparisons. Her father's empire left little room for love, and her mother's absence since childhood had carved deep scars. Recently, betrayal from someone she trusted had pushed her over the edge, convincing her she had nothing worth living for. No one had noticed the signs, no one had listened, until Daniel. Daniel walked her home that night. Though he had to take the bus far beyond his neighborhood, into the kind of district he usually only saw in magazines. When the mansion gates loomed before them, Isabella looked terrified, as though stepping back into her world would undo the fragile hope he had given her. She begged him not to leave, and something inside Daniel understood. So instead of leaving her at the gates, he walked her inside, ignoring the disapproving glares of staff. That night, Isabella told him everything, her fears, her loneliness, her belief that no one would ever truly care for her. And Daniel, in his simple but genuine way, told her about his own life, the nights when hunger gnawed at him, the mornings when he woke up to Ethan's smile and found just enough strength to keep going. Days turned into weeks, and what began as a rescue on a bridge grew into something neither expected. Isabella found herself drawn to the modest apartment where Daniel and Ethan lived. It was cramped, the furniture worn, but it pulsed with warmth and love that her mansion had never known. Ethan adored her, calling her Bella, with childlike affection, and for the first time, she felt part of something real. Daniel, too, began to notice changes in himself. The weight of his struggles didn't vanish, but sharing them with someone who cared made them lighter. Isabella started helping with groceries, slipping money into places Daniel would find only after she left, insisting it wasn't charity but gratitude. But happiness never comes without trials. When Isabella's father discovered where she had been spending her time, his fury was unmatched. He stormed into Daniel's apartment, his expensive suit stark against the peeling wallpaper, and demanded his daughter come home. To him, Daniel was nothing but a poor mechanic trying to take advantage of his child. The humiliation stung, but Daniel stood firm, not out of pride but out of love, for Isabella and for Ethan, who had come to see her as family. Isabella, in that moment, made a choice that shocked her father. She refused to leave. She told him the truth, that it was Daniel who had saved her life, not his money, not his status, not his world of cold wealth. Her father's anger didn't fade overnight, but something in Isabella's fierce honesty broke through his arrogance. Weeks later, he quietly visited Daniel again, this time without bodyguards, and asked to hear the full story. Sitting at the small kitchen table, surrounded by the smell of home-cooked stew, the powerful man realized he had nearly lost his daughter not to strangers, but to neglect. For the first time in years, he truly listened. And slowly, a bridge began to form, not just between Isabella and her father, but between two families from opposite worlds. Life didn't magically become perfect. Daniel still worked hard, and there were still nights of worry. Isabella still carried scars of loneliness. But together, they found healing. The love that grew between them wasn't born of wealth or appearances, it was forged in survival, in kindness, in the courage to reach for someone standing on the edge. And when Isabella looked at Daniel holding Ethan, she no longer saw just a struggling single dad. She saw the man who had pulled her back from the darkness, the man who had shown her what it meant to truly live. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Royal Stories, and share it so others can feel the same hope. Every click, every comment, helps keep these emotional stories alive for more people who need them. Special request to comment. Tell us below, do you believe one act of kindness can change a life forever?